Hey legends, here is our buy, hold, sell for round 18 and things are starting to get very, very interesting. Trades are just about non-existent at this point. And we've really got some decisions to make about upgrading or downgrading or getting our house in order in preparation for all of the buy rounds to be done and making sure we are in as good a position as possible for the run home as we possibly can be. So with all of that in mind, let's get into it. Okay, so first up, let's just have a quick look at what's happening in the fantasy market in terms of what you guys are doing in terms of buying and selling. And let's start with who's hot right now, because as you can see, Damien Cook is the most purchased player of the week, closely followed by Will Price. Now, interesting news, obviously, with a lot of hookers going down or underperforming, that you can see some hookers are really, really popular this week. We've got some returning players, so you've got Kalen Ponga down here, and you've got some origin players, so Payne Haas is also pretty popular, Mitch Moses, Nico Hines. So we're in this kind of weird position where people are either upgrading or downgrading and cashing out in preparation for a trade maybe next week or the week after. And that probably explains someone like a Brandon Smith down here. I don't necessarily know if he is an amazing purchase this week. Ryan Madison is decent. Talatal Kola. Chanel Harris-Tavita also decent. Reed Marnie is probably the number one hooker in the game. Adam Cook, I don't know much about. Greg Marzou is a great purchase this week. David Fifita, interesting, given that he will probably be selected for Origin. And then you've got another hooker in Blake Brayley. So there's some decent and very interesting options there. In terms of the who's not list, I can absolutely understand why Joey Manu has been cut. Harry Grant is a little bit more perplexing to me. Look, I get it. He's been underperforming. But I definitely think that he has the potential, once Origin is done, to go on an absolute tear. He's done it in the past, and I've never been a big fan of selling guns. Jeremy Marshall King, I get. Hopgood, well, he's pretty much gone for the season. David Armstrong is gone. Dylan Brown, I get it. You could probably hold for a little bit longer, but I guess people are clearing the decks for the Eels buy round. I think that's in a week or two. Fletcher Sharp, well, he's on the bench. I reckon he's a hold for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, just until we get a proper understanding on what impact Ponga is going to have to this Newcastle side. Salmon, I reckon he is a sell next week, so maybe next week. Farlongo, I think he could be out. There's rumors that he'll be out maybe this week and next week. That's all TBC at this stage. KO Weeks, I reckon he is a hold for at least 1 more week. Hands, I reckon he is also a hold just for at least 1 more week. Johnson, I think yes, sell. Coates, sell. McKaylee, he hasn't really performed super well. And Fidi Fuiaki, kind of similar sort of a boat. With the number of buys that these two Cowboys have, I can understand why people are selling them. Okay, so I want to give you guys a quick update on my team. So let's just jump over to that. And here we can see my team. So currently I'm ranked around the 20,000th mark. In fact, the exact number is 20,705. Last week, I've got to say, was just a little bit painful with a lot of players in this 20-point mark. You know, Drinkwater underperforming. Karaz, a low one. Iro, a low one. Katoa, a low one. Fainu, pretty low. Api Ksau, pretty low. So we're definitely hoping for a big bounce back this week. Ideally, Nico Hines goes nice and big. We would absolutely love that. Fifita being in the team is a win. Cotter, I'm really hoping he can have a big game. At this stage, I've bought in Simpkin, but I'm not 100% sold on him. So we've got a decision to make on what we want to do with him. Ideally, I think we're going to have to get rid of Hands at some stage, Sharp at some stage. And then we really want to start the upgrade process. So we're looking to upgrade King, upgrade Finu, I'm pretty happy with Fafita and Katoa at this stage. I may end up just holding Ruben Cotter, not 100% sure there. The plan with Weeks down here is to upgrade him into a Nathan Cleary. That would be phenomenal. And then I'd have Nico Hines, Lockie Galvin, and Nathan Cleary as my 3 halves for the run home. I think that would be awesome. I'm probably going to keep Ewan Aitken as my 3rd edge with center cover as well, so that's pretty handy. Harry Grant, we've got a long-term decision to make on him. Maxi Plath at this stage, I may either use his cash to upgrade to a Haas or a Yo. Garrick, I'm probably going to upgrade. Drinky, we're going to upgrade. The real question is, how many of these upgrades can we actually make given the limited number of trades that we have left? So if I make this Simpkin trade here, I've only got 1 trade left after that. So, you know, some decisions to make. But anyway, let's get into buy, hold, sell. And we're going to start with Cam McInnes. Now, Longy over at the Casual Athlete is not a big fan. And there's a few people thinking that Cam McInnes is a little bit of a trap. And it's probably because, you know, he's now 705k, but he has delivered some pretty damn phenomenal scores. You can see 61 back here, run of 50 plus and the 70 in there as well. And of course the 90 last week. Currently averaging just over the 53 mark and a break even of 39. So his price is going to go up. He's got some easy matches on the horizon. Gold Coast Tigers into the bye. Then you've got Cows, Rabbits, Gold Coast again, Newcastle. So I reckon this run is actually pretty damn phenomenal for the Sharkies. And I'm thinking, you know, if Cam McInnes gets the minutes, then he is going to be delivering 55, 60 plus scores pretty consistently. I think at the very least you'll have a very decent 55 kind of base with the upside potential from there. So for me, I actually think Cam McInnes is a good buy. He's definitely on my radar this week. For me though, do I want Cam McInnes or do I look to upgrade, you know, some of those other mid forwards into the Yos and the Hasses when they're back from Origin in the next couple of weeks? So that's something that I am weighing up, but I reckon Cam McInnes is definitely a buy. Next up is Greg Marzhew, 479k. After what can only be described as a very slow start to the season from his standards, he is now starting to build some degree of consistency, and these upside scores hopefully are starting to come a little bit more regularly. I don't think he's going to be any cheaper than this 479k. Bit of a mixed draw over the next couple of weeks, so something to be conscious of. He's going to have some easier matches and he's going to have some tougher ones. But with Ponga back, we would expect the ball to go out to Marzhew a little bit more frequently, and with that should come a few more tries, and Greg Marzhew hopefully can finish off the 2024 season with a good run of form. So for me, he is also a buy. Next up, probably the form hooker of the competition over the last few weeks is Damien Cook. He's not cheap though, 751k. He's got a 33 break even. And again, like Marzhew here, he's got a little bit of a mixed draw. So decent bunch of fixtures here. And then he's got, you know, Melbourne, Sharkies, Penrith, Sydney. So, you know, there's some tough games in there as well. Having said that though, in the last, 6 rounds, he's gone 57, 64, 57, 46, 69, and 82. Cookie is looking pretty damn good at the moment. He does come with a degree of caution though. You know, the Bunnies are carrying another hooker on the bench, and if the Bunnies aren't looking like they're going to make the finals, then you might see Cookie with some restricted minutes, but who knows. All right, let's keep moving. Next up, Mitch Barnett over at the Warriors. And I think Mitch Barnett has really benefited from the fact that Tohu Harris has been getting a little bit of a rest lately. And as such, you can see Mitch Barnett has been getting more minutes and as a consequence, more points. Now, one thing to be conscious of, if you're jumping on the Warriors, they still have 2 buys remaining. The other thing to be aware of with Mitch Barnett is the fact that he's not cheap, 724k. He's got a decent run of fixtures and he's only got a 27 break even, but he is one of the form forwards at the moment and definitely somebody worth consideration. Next up, someone we've had on the buy list, the hold list, and the sell list is Talatau Kola. Only 414k with the center and wing fullback duel. It pretty much sounds like he is going to be the fullback going forward, with Tommy Turbo moving into the centers. What we're not clear on at this point is that temporary, and will Kula have this spot more permanently going forward? So if he does, we know he's got some form on the board and is capable of scoring some very, very big points. Now, Manly have a decent draw into the run home, but keep in mind they do have one more bye to go. And Kula is coming off some very low scores, 11, 23, and 36. So if you're game and if you need a center wing fullback, then Kula's probably one of the better buys right now. Now, next up, another Manly Sea Eagle, and that's Toa Fofoa Sipley. And we know when this guy gets the minutes, he is an absolute beast. Now you can see all of these big scores, 52, 44, and 55 were all scored in 45 minutes. So when he gets, more than 40 minutes a game, he is going to score you some very, very decent points, thanks to this amazing 1 ppm. So for me, he could be a decent choice. He is on my radar this week. But I am conscious if they drop him back to the bench, then, you're likely to get a 9, 16, 18, or a 13-point score. So for me, I am hoping that the Sea Eagles really use this guy because he is a point-scoring machine. Next up, we've got Jake Simpkin. Now, I have him penciled into my team at this point, and the big question mark that I have on him is how many hookers do I need this year? Currently, I'm sitting on Api Coruscant, I've got Harry Grant, I've got Brendan Hands. So do I really need a Jake Simpkin? The answer is probably not, but I'm looking to do a little bit of a cash down for a player with some decent points. And Simpkin, I reckon his job security is pretty good and his points are pretty decent for only 301k with a break even of 14. So there you go. At this stage, he's penciled into my team. I may end up going in a different direction, but he is definitely somebody worth considering. Next up, a little bit of a dubious one, Tom Starling, 326k. And when I say dubious, what I mean here is Ricky Stewart just can't seem to make his mind up with anyone in this team at the moment. And I think the poor Raiders are up to their third or fourth hooker. So for me, job security is a little bit of a concern. What I do like about Starling, though, is his PPM, because we know that when he gets the minutes, he has the capacity to score some really decent points. So for me, if you're confident that Ricky Stewart is going to pick and stick with Tom Starling, then at 326k, he is a decent buy. But what is his longevity? I think that is the $1 million question. Next up, the last guy that we have in our hold list, and it's a guy we featured last week as well, is Will Price. He come out and really delivered in his first game. 45 points is very, very decent. So much so that a decent number of people in the top 1,000 have jumped on board Will Price. Now, he could be a nice option to cash out if you're looking for that kind of half wing fullback duel. He's somebody who will jump on board and hopefully do his thing. Now, next up, let's move on to the holds. Harry Grant, I can understand why people are selling, but 657k, it's probably not going to get much cheaper for Harry. You're not going to make much money. He does have a whole bunch of buys still to come. I think, he's not going to play this week. He's out next week. And up against the Roosters is a question mark. And then, from my point of view, I'm hoping he goes on a massive run into the finals and really helps us justify why we've held on to Harry Grant this long. Because let's face it, his numbers this year have not been amazing. But for me, Harry Grant is a hold. Brendan Hands, now I've only got him as a hold for this week. If he comes out and puts in another average score of 21 or thereabouts, then he is absolutely a hold next week. Then he is absolutely a sell next week. It really comes down to what the Parramatta Eels are going to do with... It really comes down to what It really comes down to what the Eels are going to do with Arthurs next week and whether they continue to give him more minutes at the expense of Hands in preparation for obviously the future. You know, they've probably written off the season at this point and they're gearing up for 2025 and giving some exposure to some of those younger players. But at this stage, for me, Brendan Hands is a hold. He is on life support though. Fletcher Sharp, similar story to Brendan Hands. Look, the only thing that's keeping Fletcher Sharp alive this week is the fact that Ponga is a little bit of an unknown and Fletcher Sharp's break even is an 8. So we just need him to take the field, do a couple of runs, and he should make us a little bit of money. Also, if Ponga gets selected for Origin, that'll have some sort of flip side benefit for Fletcher Sharp for at least maybe another week or two. So don't sell him unless you're absolutely desperate to. He is a green dot this week. And for all we know, Ponga may not actually make the starting side, although I think it's highly likely that he will. But at least give him one more week, maybe the Origin coverage if Ponga is out, and then see where we go from there. Now, next up, Kai Pearce-Paul, 614k. He's probably peaked in both price and points. He just hasn't had the weight of attacking stats in 2024. He's coming off a bit of a run of disappointing form, probably from round 8. You know, this 30 into another 32, couple of 50s. The 48 was probably lower than we'd like, and then the 35 last week. So I can see why people are questioning whether they should keep him. But for me, you know, Kai Pearce-Paul was probably only 1 or 2 attacking stack games from being a superstar. And I'm really hoping he can start to build on what he's achieved so far this season to bring some points in 2024. For now, he's a hold, get through the Origin period, and then look, if he's not doing anything substantial, then look to move him on or upgrade. Now, our last guy on the hold list is KO Weeks. I can see that a lot of people are selling him. I don't think he's a sell this week, but I reckon he may be a sell next week. For me, he's an upgrade target, so I'm going to upgrade KO Weeks into Nathan Cleary, which is absolutely insane. KO Weeks, thank you very much. You have done an outstanding job. But he's just about at that point where an upgrade is absolutely on the card. So one more week and then look to see what we do with KO Weeks from there. Okay, only a couple of sells this week. We've got Jeremy Marshall-King, we've got Joey Manu, and Xavier Coates. Unfortunately, all of these 3 guys are out injured for a relatively decent amount of time, so we need to look to move on. Anyway, guys, look, there you go. That is the buy, hold, and sell for round 18. If you've liked the video, you know what to do. Smash that like button for me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, guys, get involved in the conversation via the comment section down below. And I'll see you all in the next video.